Welcome, everybody, to All Star Insights. I'm your co host, Chris McKnight, along with my co host.
Coach Rock, welcome to the show, guys. Thank you for showing up.
And today's episode is sponsored by Kids on First Foundation and Tuckahoe Sports. And today we have a very special guest with us, Mr. Duke Baxter. Duke, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. It's sunny in New Jersey. It
Yeah.
isn't always, but we're enjoying the weather.
There you go. It's pouring here in Richmond, so
Unfortunately,
I know we have a lot of stuff to go over today, but just really, I want to really touch on the beginning of your baseball career. And I know, as a former collegiate player and former professional player, and now co-owner of Zone Sports, one of the top training facilities in Jersey, but also more importantly, Duke and his partner Steve do a fabulous job of teaching players and coaches on their social media channels. And if you haven't checked that out yet, I think you'd be doing yourself a disservice by not going on there. If you're a coach or a parent, that is some great stuff on there. I use a lot of that stuff in my training. It's really good information, but also it's presented first class. So if you haven't gotten a chance to go on there, we'll talk about that a little bit later with Duke and how to get on there too. Let's just jump in to talk about your youth baseball, how you got started in baseball, and we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah, sure. So started young like everybody, like most people, 7 years old. All it took was a coach to say, "Hey, I know you're only 7 and our team is 8, 9, and 10-year-olds, so I'm looking for one more kid, on my roster." And my mom's like, "Well, he likes baseball." And, so I signed on to play baseball. I was the youngest and didn't do too well in the beginning, but the coach was so fun. Like, we'd go to get ice cream after we'd get wins. And he just was such a positive person, and I just loved playing for him. And I think that, so often when I talk about Little League, I don't talk about wins and losses and where I played on the field or how many trophies we won. It was more like what the culture and what the feeling was like that Coach Tyberski did with all the guys and how fun it was for us. And as a byproduct of that, yes, we did win a lot of trophies and we did win championships, but he just got me hooked from day one by just, playing hard and understanding what it was like to, to play the game and to respect the game. And so that led me into playing middle school and high school. And I went on to play junior college ball down in Jacksonville. I finished up my college at the University of North Florida with Dusty Rhodes, and it was just the track of just the game was just such a challenging game, right? I just absolutely loved it. But I also played baseball and basketball and football. I played all three sports all through high school and was very much into multi-sport. And then I finished up with the Somerset Patriots. I got to play 4 years of, professional baseball, and just the journey was awesome. And once I got done, it was kind of the last day that I took my cleats off. I was like, what the heck am I going to do now? Like, I always wanted to just make it to the big leagues and play in the big leagues. And like, from the time I was 7 years old, watching all the Yankees games and being able to stand like them and hit like them and throw like every single guy on the roster. You know how it was when we were younger. Like, you could hit like every single guy, right? And, so that's when I came to the harsh reality of, okay, baseball's over. But was it really? Right? I said to myself that night, I was like, what can I do to keep myself in the game? I love doing camps. I love doing clinics. And there was a facility down the street. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go in there. I don't know. That was 26 years ago. So indoor facilities weren't really a thing. Right. But I was like, I just want to get into the game somehow and do something. So it turned into lessons and camps and clinics. And 26 years later, here we are still. So, it took a guy at 7 years old to tell me that he wanted me and believe in me to where I am today at 53 years old, running a baseball facility and just still in the game, right?
that's awesome. That's awesome, Duke. Can you tell us what about the overall aspect of kids and the resources that they have now that they didn't have, and the importance of utilizing those resources in their spare time? Because a lot of these kids are so spoiled now guys that they have so many resources that they don't know what to do with them. Can you point them in some type of direction and some type of routine that they should be on a weekly or a daily basis?
Yeah, I think that, you know, in our facility, anybody that plays on our team has full access to the facility, right? And there's so very few of them that actually take advantage of having 28,000 square feet and 10 batting cages and pitching mounds and hit tracks and Rapsodo. Like, we make sure that anything and everything that they need for our coaches, especially to be able to evaluate a player and to be able to give them a plan and give them a program, like, that's so important. But it all starts with just grinding every day, going to the field and taking 50 swings, or going into your backyard and hitting off a net, or coming to a facility and just taking swings, fielding ground balls. Like there's no trick to being good, right? It takes effort and attitude and time to get good. It's not he's so lucky because he's good. Well, you don't see him taking his 200 ground balls every single day. Like, you have to put in the work, and not enough people are putting in the work, but they want the result, right? They want to put in B plus effort, but they want an A plus on the grade. Well, that's not that, it doesn't work like that. You need to put in A plus effort to get the A plus, you know? So there's so many tools out there that, you know, kids can use them, but I think it starts with a T. It starts with you. It starts with you as a person saying, you know what? I want to get better, and I need to actually put the effort in. And it's, you know, creating that little goal sheet. You know, if I want to become a better hitter, say, okay, well, how am I going to do that then? I need to take 50 swings every other day all week, and then I'm going to reassess myself. Like, that's how you get better. And then you have the tools, and you can reach out to coaches and trainers, and you can go online to put together different nutritional plans and workout plans. But it all starts with you and wanting to do it. That's, you know, there's nothing that comes easy that's worth it.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
I think, like you said too, or the kids today do have a lot of resources available. I know growing up, of course, when I was growing up, there was no indoor baseball facilities. The closest thing that we had to a batting cage was at the go-kart and miniature golf. And there were like these two machines that one threw slow, one threw fast. And that was it. That was, my dad used to bring us down there and we hit, but it wasn't anywhere close to what these guys have available today. So taking advantage, and it's funny you say that because, at our indoor facility, I kind of say the same thing. We have, 18 teams, 250 plus kids, and it's always like the same kids you see in there day in and day out. And then everybody's, "Oh, that guy's just talented." Yeah, okay. He's got some skill, but the reason he is good because he's taking those swings every day. He's taking those ground balls. He's in the weight room. And they are the resources, like you said, online, just like what you guys do. Someone that can go on and if they want to learn how to take better ground balls, if they can't get in to see a coach, they can go online and listen to, 100 different people teaching how to take ground balls. But yeah, you're right. It all starts with that desire to get better without a doubt. So I want to talk a little bit about your facility now and how you got started with that and how you got started with the social media stuff.
Yeah. So, in the beginning, it was just a couple cages. But the way I got started was once my season was over, I asked a couple of the guys from the Somerset Patriots, I'm like, hey, everybody needs work, right? When you're in the minor leagues, you're not making what they make in the big leagues. So in the off season, you need hours, you need money, you need to work. And like three of the guys lived here. So I'm like, hey, let's go do lessons. Let's go do some camps. Come down to the facility. It wasn't even really mine yet. I was calling it mine because I had a vision of it being mine one day, right? And we would work and we would grind, and it's, what turned into 6 coaches, turned into 11 coaches, turned into 22 coaches, turned into, what was just lessons, turned into camps and clinics, which then turned into teams. Now we have scholarships, we have coaches clinics, and we've really just turned it into a, one-stop shop. We put a weight room in there when so, I was talking to a guy the other day, and it's interesting because everybody wants what we have now, but they don't know how to maintain that, right? Like if I would have said, man, I want a 28,000 square foot place right in the beginning, I could never have handled that, right? I needed to start in my one cage, doing my lessons, dominating that space, and then getting a little bit bigger, dominating that space. It's not just, oh, I want this. You can't handle that, right? Like you don't know what that really takes to to have to manage people and do payroll and do HR and like, like there. So I think so often people just want this. Even in our space, it's like start small. Make sure you like it. Make sure you're good at it. Make sure and then grow slowly. So yeah. So it turned into us doing like I said, scholarships and having signing days. And, then we started doing coaches clinics. And when, when COVID hit, we were shut down for 6 months and we were considered a gym. So we were shut down longer than almost anybody. And I'm like, this place, like we're going to go under shutting this down, a 28,000 square foot place with rent and this and that. Like we can't see kids. We can't do anything that I knew how to make money. I couldn't do any of it. So I was like, so what I did know how to do was I went into my basement. And once I was in my basement, I took all the videos I've done over the last 20 years, compiled a huge database. And I went onto this platform called Kajabi and I made these baseball courses. If you're coaching T-ball, if you're coaching softball, if you want to be a middle infielder, so I started creating these courses and selling these courses online because California was still open and Florida was still open and Oregon was still open, but Jersey and everything here wasn't. So that's how Dominate the Diamond was born. And it just became me sending out one video a day, every day on Facebook, just because I was trying to help people because I was so just hurt by the fact that I couldn't do anything. And since I couldn't do anything, I was just like, I got to help other people. Like, this is what I'm good at. This is what I know. And next, it has 200,000, 300,000 people are like, how in the world did you grow your Facebook, which no one even has Facebook, to 3,000 people, right? Like, how did you even do that? And I'm like, you know what? Just from the simple fact of every day, I posted a drill that I liked, that I just did, that I wanted to help somebody. And because I would keep getting comments, wow, this is a great drill. Thanks so much for helping me and my kids. That was a great message as a dad. Thanks so much. Oh, that's a good practice. So it just drove me to be like, I got to keep on helping because my void was, I couldn't do it for me. So I was trying to feed everybody else. And that's what grew it into what it is now.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. One of the drills, we talk about soft hands, right? Right, dude. Can you kind of tell the players and middle infielders and any type of infielder for that matter, the importance of soft hands and what does that mean to you?
Yeah. So for me, soft hands is being able to take the ball and get it where it's going next fast. It's not just catching, taking it, and then throwing. It's almost like, okay, I know I'm throwing it that way. I need to catch this ball, but now I need to catch it and get it to where it's going. On a relay, I'm catching the ball, but then it's not, oh, okay, now what am I doing? Now I got to turn and now I got to and it's like, so having soft hands is really just having good feet, right? If I have good feet, now I'm fielding the hop that I want so that I can have good hands. If my feet are stuck and I'm getting hops that are just kind of hopping around and kind of moving me around, I don't have soft hands. So if I have good feet and I'm agile and I'm reading the ball and I'm fielding the ball and making throws, it's so important when you're trying to turn double plays or you're trying to work on relays, or you're redirecting the ball. Having soft hands is a huge asset, but it starts with working on it. My son's 15 now, and I saw him like, man, he's like not that good at picking balls. So I started just taking the ball in my glove. I said, you can't even use your throwing hand, and we're gonna flip balls at each other. And I'm trying to like get him to react and make these moves. And now I'm tossing him on the ground and he's picking and he can only use his glove because everyone's so used to two hands, instead of going through and moving one-handed sometimes and backhands were moving through. It's like get in front of the ball, field it, shuffle. Like that's okay for 10% of the balls. But on balls that are hopping and chopping and left and right, like you have to be good at using your glove only, right? But you have to practice that. And it's okay if you mess up and you miss, like you got to keep working on it. Kids want to do this is the thing that's so secure. And I know I'm going to, but now guys are beating out ground balls and you're like, You got to move through the ball. Like you have to. So I just love the game.
Yeah, that's
Thanks
a
for
great
that.
because there's two things that you said there that I think a lot of coaches, and again for younger kids, we understand the two-hand thing. That's like a good intro piece. 60 something percent of all balls hit are going to be one-handed plays. Are going to be backhands or forehands or coming running in on a ball, and you have to be just as good. Everybody focuses on their right, if they're a right-handed thrower, their right hand, but your left hand, you have to be just as good with your left hand. It's like in basketball, you say, okay, they're dribbling with their right hand. Now you say crossover, and kids are like, uh-oh, they have a problem. So doing that left hand. And the other really good point there for parents and players is your feet. What because if you're not getting to the ball properly and setting yourself up, it doesn't really matter what you do with your glove, right? You got to have good feet. And that's a thing I think that a lot of parents and players overlook as well. So one of the things that I love when you do your videos too is that they're short, they're concise, and you get right to the point. So for coaches out there, what's a good piece of advice when you are teaching a new drill and what to try to capture the players' attention, but also get your point across?
That's such an awesome thing that you said because I've been told that so often, and I don't know why that you know, all my videos are short and quick to the point because that's how I am, right? Like I get bored very quickly. I get distracted very quickly. So it's like, I guess that's exactly what you want to do as a coach. It's you're showing the drill, you're explaining why you're doing it, you're showing how you do it, and then you're letting them do it, right? You're not just, we've all had those coaches that are like, you sit there and they're talking and talking and talking. They're not showing you how to do it. They're not demonstrating how to do it. They're not, so in the mean so now you're like, "Okay, I think he wants me to do this, or I think he wants me to do this," but when you're talking and showing at the same time, and now you're actually letting them do it, it's like, "Oh, that's what it feels like," or, "Oh, that's what it's supposed to look like." So I'm trying to hit all 3 ways. Kids learn by hearing, seeing, and feeling. Well, if my video is showing, they're seeing it. Feeling it is the exact drill that I'm teaching so they can feel it, and then they're hearing me actually say it. So I'm hitting all 3 phases every time I shoot a video. I'm not just telling you something, I'm telling you, showing you, and then demonstrating on how you as a coach can then help the player, or if it's a mom or a dad, a parent, so anyone that's watching it, the kid can learn it, the parent can learn it, or the coach can learn it. That's kind of what that's what I kind of try to put myself in all 3 of the audience of who's watching my video right now. Well, if it's a kid, he can do it. And if it's a mom or dad, they can do it. Or if it's a coach, we can use it, right? Short and sweet. That's it.
What are your thoughts about group leadership and captainship in reference to the projection of the lesson as far as like kids are really prone and taking it in well from their peers? Do you ever use examples of group leaders actually doing the drill besides yourself, but an actual person who's kind of mastered that drill and utilizing them as somewhat as the example?
I love that. Ever since our kids were little, we call it there's a team leader for the day, and it's 2 kids, and they're the actual captains for the week. So we have, so we prepare them so they're ready. So we have, here's the dynamic warm up, here's the throwing program, and then here's what we need to make sure we're doing in the cages. So those 2 kids can look at it and be like, all right, guys, high knees. And they're leading. And sometimes they're not leaders at all, you wouldn't think, but they're sometimes the best ones, right? Or you think those kids that are the best leaders, once they get put in this situation, you're like, he thinks he's too cool for that, and they're not, right? So, but every week it's 2 different kids and they love it because it's like they may never have been in that position in their entire life, or they've never been in that role to be like, wait a second, let me do this. And they're like, then you're like, damn, this kid's good at it. Like, that's what you do, right? So I think that it's super, super, super important that you utilize not just yourself, but you do utilize the players, just like, for the little kids. And, everyone's taking their baseball knee as you're getting ready to talk. You're like, wow, Look at Johnny. Now that's how you take a baseball name. Now these three kids that were screwing around on the side, they're immediately doing what Johnny was. Hey, coach, how's my baseball knee? Hey, coach, how's my baseball knee? Right? Like they all want to do it right. They don't want to like get in trouble. And so many coaches that don't understand that, they want to just reprimand. Look at these three kids. Stop doing this. Stop goofing around. Stop. Well, you're killing all of your practice time, constantly doing that all day. Instead, just focus. Focus on this. Yes, there's a time and a place to reprimand something, but it's more talk more about what you want them to do and less about what you don't want them to do, right? So I love the leadership. I love having them understand what that means. So thanks for that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think that's a thing that coaches probably, don't really spend enough time on working on individual players than practice too. Because again, when we all have teams and there's 13, 14 guys and you're trying to keep everybody active. But I think a real piece of that is making sure that everybody is involved and everybody has responsibility and not, I see coaches all the time. If somebody drops ball, okay, well, the whole team runs, or you throw the ball overhead, go chase the ball, you go through there. And for me, that's kind of wasted. If I only have an hour on the field, that's wasted time, making guys chase balls. We tell our guys, keep a ball in your back pocket. And if you throw the ball over, pull the ball out of your back pocket and keep the continuity of the drill going rather than, chasing balls. Because I think coaches do, like you said, dude, they get into the reprimand thing rather than let's move on and keep these kids involved and show them how we want them to act rather than just the reprimand stuff. And I think coaches too, if you use a kid's first name when you're talking to them and getting them to buy in, it's a lot easier than just talking to a whole and not mentioning their name. And, we really preach that too. Just say their first name because as soon as you hear your first name, kids pay attention,
I
because they
tell
look,
coaches that all the time, like, listen, when you go on the field, you have to put name tags on your kids for the first couple of days, even on yourself, because there's nothing worse than being like, hey, buddy, hey,
yeah,
you have no, right? But if you're like, Johnny, stop goofing around. Matthew, good job. Like they love when you call them by name. So do their parents, right? And you want them calling you by your first name. I always say that to coaches. I'm like, if the season's over and every single kid on the team doesn't know what your name is, you did something wrong,
We got
right?
nicknames. We do nicknames. Yeah. 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 Based on what you said in reference to that, it's like also preaching tempo because tempo is very important in practice. Hey, look, if you bobble that ball, let's keep it moving. We'll go over what you did a little bit later or what happened, but we got to keep the tempo and the flow of that particular drill, whether it's a double play drill, whether it's a pro set, whether it's a cutoff drill, so on and so forth. There are so many different things that sometimes these kids want to stop. And you know what happens? It carries over to the game. You don't have time to stop in the middle of the game and say, "Oh, I made a mistake." You gotta keep going, man. What are your thoughts about that?
Nobody cares, right? Like that you made a mistake. They care about what's next. I have this one shortstop that's really good, and she was showing me the mistake that she made. Like, oh, Coach Duke, I missed my first error of the season. I watched the video. I said, listen, I don't care about that, but I want you to look at what your body language looked like after you missed the ball. I said there was a runner on second. She ran in front of you. The ball went between your legs. It went to the left fielder. But what's next? You're the right. Are you a cutoff person? Are you covering the next base? That left fielder took the ball now, and you're not even looking because you're pouting that you missed the ball. But now there's runners going to third base. The left fielder now has got to throw it to somebody. Someone's got to cover right. I'm like, that's what I. She's like, just looked at me like, oh my gosh. I said, yes. This game is not about you. It's not about that ground ball. It's about what you're doing next. Like, okay, you missed it. It's not going to be the last ground ball you miss. It wasn't the first one you've ever missed. Like coaches don't care about that, right? Because that's just going to happen, right? Yeah, we can work on it. And yeah, the runner got into your way, and you kind of went down, and you whatever it was, but you got to make sure that as a shortstop and as a leader of the team, like you don't put your head down and you're pouting because you made a mistake, right? Like who can you throw out next? And that's what I told my son. I'm like, you go over 3. That doesn't mean you had a bad game because maybe you laid out and you had the bases loaded and you made a diving catch and you doubled somebody off and you won by 1, or you bunted somebody over. You had a sack fly. Or there's so much more to the game than just how many hits did you get. Stop judging or rating your performance based on how many hits you got that game. The game is much bigger than that. And you have to hustle for the full 2 hours to get the full benefit of what that actually means, because the baseball's in flight for 8 minutes in a 2-hour game. The ball itself is only in play, in fight for 8 minutes, which means you have a long time to do absolutely nothing but prepare, get ready, anticipate, cheer on, root, be aware. Like, that's what the game brings. So, that's why they call it the boring sport. If you don't know how to coach it, it is boring if you're only doing something for 8 minutes and then that's it. Right. But if you're like anticipating and talking to the third baseman and you're looking here and you just read that he was late on the last pitch. So now you're sneaking up the middle a little bit and you're making the game is just amazing when you look at it that way.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
without a doubt. And I think that's one of the things. So I want to switch gears a little bit now. I want to talk about, after the game, because a lot of parents, and again, I think this is just, they're not doing it to make their kid worse, but I think they get in the car and the first thing they do, just what you said, what did you do today hitting wise? That's the focal point. Well, and if you went 0 for 3, you get in the car and then, mom or dad's reliving each at bat. So what should parents be doing at the end of a game, to help their players prepare and mentally, forget it, if they had a bad day
Yeah.
to move on from that.
Well, here's something I came up with 10 years ago. It's called the hat method. And the hat method is it's so hard for a parent to turn the switch of, am I coaching right now or am I being dad right now? Right? We all go through it. Coaching our kids is so hard because it's like, who am I right now? What am I right now? Does my kid know? Am I dad? Am I coach? Am I going to rip into him? Am I going to be like loving? Like what's going on here? So when I go to the game, I always have some sort of hat on, right? I have my hat on. I look into the back seat. If my son's wearing his baseball hat, I can talk about the game, who I might be pitching, what I'm doing, if he doesn't have his hat on, I'm just going through my normal thing. I'm talking to myself about who I'm going to pitch and what I'm going to do, right? Once we get out of the car, I put my baseball hat on, my game hat. He has his game hat on. Now it's player, coach. Player, coach. I treat him like a player. He treats me like a coach. That's exactly what happens on the field. When we get back into the car, my hat comes off. I throw it onto the dashboard. And now I'm just dad. He knows just dad is in the car. It's not his coach. When I look into the back, if he has his hat on, he can talk about the game, but I can only talk back as his dad. Hey, buddy, good job today. Hey, dad, that's it. If his hat is off, we talk about going to grandma's house. We talk about the movies. We talk about what we're going to do later on. Zero game afterwards, because I say what I needed to say to him. I say on the field, in the dugout, after the game's over, on the field. That way, when he gets into the car ride, he doesn't have to worry about dad. He doesn't have to worry about what I'm going to say or what I'm going to do. Or he already lived it with me. He already went 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts and an error. He doesn't need me to tell him in the car, right? And the reason why I came up with this is because I didn't realize how many of my buddies quit the game because they were so stressed out about the car ride with their dad that they were anxiety on the field, right? Like if they did bad, they were like, dude, my ride home, my dad's going to kill me. I'm like, what? Like, that's why I played with so much freedom. My dad didn't know anything about baseball. He always said, great job, Duke. It was so fun to watch it. It was because he worked all the time. He barely ever got to go to any of my games. So when he did, it really was great to watch me play because that's what he wanted to do, but he never could do it. So I go 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts. I'd be like, Dad, were you even watching the game? You said I did a good job. He goes, it was just fun being there. And for me, I played like that, right? But a lot of my buddies didn't. So it's so funny because I posted something on my Instagram today. It said, Dear Mom, Thank you for always driving a separate car so I never have to ride home with dad after a bad game. Right? Right? So I said, are you that dad that the kid goes with mom or with grandma because it's going to be that, but I understand the pain of what a dad and a coach is because it's hard to turn the switch off. You want to relive the game, right? Like, hey, what were you thinking? So my wife yesterday after my son had a game, didn't have one of his best games. She's like, oh, did you talk to Tyler? I said, no, I'll talk to him tomorrow if he feels like it. So I wrote stuff down, right? I videoed some things. I got some things I'd like to talk to him about if he wants to, right? Like, it's not after the game, it's going to be today. Because today he's going to be like, yeah, that's cool. Like, what do you want to talk about? All right. And then I'll be able to have my time. So that's how that goes.
That's all. That's awesome that you say that, dude. Because I remember listen, go with your mother. You know what I mean? Go with your mother. You got it. I need a moment. There has to be some degrees of separation there, just like you said, which we can all appreciate. And as you get older as a coach or just as a person, we don't have time to be arguing. I'm not going to have a brain aneurysm or a heart attack because you had a bad game. These parents need to understand that you guys are creating illnesses between yourself and your family and within yourself, and you're not going to last. You got to be able to have some degrees of separation and say, you know what? Let's break down categories in this way later on. We'll talk about it. And right now, the biggest aspect is how was your attitude in the game? How did you face that failure? And that should be the main topic of discussion in reference to anything that we all talk about, in my opinion. I just wanted to point that out. Hopefully you see the same thing.
Attitude, effort, and hustle. That's all I care about. How was your
That's right.
attitude, your effort, and how was your hustle all game long? If you got taken out because you got a pinch hitter in, you better be the first one out of the dugout to give him a high five after he got the bunt down because coach put him in your spot. And you say, okay, he goes in. Guess what? I need to be that teammate that I want them to be for me. Yeah, I might be pissed off that I got pinch hit for, right? I want to be the one that gets up. I want to be the one. But okay, the second I'm not, I turn the gear and I'm a different guy. Now I'm the best teammate I can be. If I'm not starting today, I'm the best teammate I can be. Everyone's got a role. It's not just the 9 guys that are on the field. It's everybody. And I think that's the hardest part about baseball. When you play T-ball, every single kid plays and every single kid plays in the infield. Once you go to there's only 12 kids on the field. Every single kid's playing somewhere and every single kid's in the lineup. Then you go to middle school and it's like, wait a second, there's even more kids, but now only 11 play. Now I go to high school, there's even more kids and only 10 play. So the better I get, the less guys are playing. Now you go to college and you have 32 guys and only 9 are playing. Think about that. What do you mean I'm sitting on the bench? I'm in college. I'm a D1 athlete. I'm a superstar. I'm sitting. And then you go into the pros and even more guys sit, right? So the pyramid of how we're teaching the parents, wait, why is my son not playing the infield? Well, just because he did it in T-ball doesn't mean that everybody plays the infield, but that's all they know, right? So as you're going like this, and the better you get, the more you're sitting. So if you're not trained right and the parents aren't supporting right, it's like, well, how come you're sitting? It's like, I don't know. I've never sat before. Well, you're only 11, but this is why. This is what happens in the game. It just, so it's not the parents' fault because half of them just don't understand it. So it's just like you're saying, it's just educating them and getting them to understand things and.
So now with the way, one of the big trends now that we've seen in youth baseball is a lot of these big corporations are getting involved in the youth game and making investments in the game. What's your take on that?
Well, think that, okay, I'll slow down a tiny bit. So to think that we have a scholarship, right, that is funded by by events that we run to be able to work with, to give underfunded little league programs, build cages, build mounds, so I need the money, right, to be able to do things like that to where it's used for good, right? Or else they're not going to have a 50-70 field or they don't have a batting cage, but we're able to help them do that, right? So I think that, I don't know how I can put a good light on it. I'm not sure, but there is a lot of private equity now, like buying up the different groups or, there's travel teams that are waiting for travel teams to not do well to then swallow up all their kids and then put them all under the same, umbrella, and you're taking all the good coaches. It's like, but it doesn't bother me if it were one of us right? The 3 of us, like, we know what we're doing. We know we're doing it for good. We know that, like, that's really gonna help. But when it's in the wrong hands, you're like, "What are they teaching them? What are they doing?" Like, so I don't know if I'm answering your question. I just think that if it's put in the right hands, or the right organizations, like, it could be impactful in a good way, and if it's the wrong hands, like, I don't know. It's like anything, I guess there's right?
That would definitely be an offline conversation.
Yeah.
It's hard because I see it, and I see some of these organizations, like you said, they're just swallowing up, the smaller organizations, and they view it as this is a way to make money. If your check clears, your kid's in. And again, a for-profit business, yeah, but I think still got to be some accountability to the organizations, like going back to what you said earlier about teaching the coaches, teaching the players, teaching the parents, giving those guys the opportunity to learn about baseball and how hard the game is, and not just worrying about, it's my kid on a team. Okay, let me write that check and he's on a club and that's it. And then go from there. And I think that's probably every sport's got it, but probably the dark side of baseball where, back 25 years ago when I'd go to see kids travel baseball, like the Bayside Yankees and things like that, those were the elite. They were travel teams, but there wasn't a lot of them. So when they'd say, "Hey, Bayside Yankees are playing today at so and so," when I go to recruit, I knew I was going to see you know 9 guys out in that field that could play because the travel team. Now I think it's just I think it's watered down a little bit, to be honest, with all these different travel teams and who's calling who elite, and you know this team is playing or this team is majors, and I think parents and kids get caught up in that a little too much right now, especially at the younger age groups.
I agree with you so much. I mean, I think that when you do the studies of why kids play the sport, and why parents put them in the sport, it's okay. I want my kid to be safe, right? I want my kid to be safe when he goes onto the field. I want my kid to have fun so that he wants to come back, and I want my kid to develop. Those are the 3 things in order. It doesn't say, I want my team to win more games. Kids don't say that when they're little, like, all I want to do is win, right? They wanna play with their friends, they wanna get better, they wanna have fun, and in return of that, and as they're doing that, yeah, they're gonna win, and then they're gonna understand what winning is, but if you're teaching winning as, "Hey, the process of enjoying what you're doing, working hard, practicing a lot, getting better," like, that's what you want, not just, "Here, I'm gonna write a check so you're on a really good team, and now go ahead." And now the kid doesn't practice, he doesn't do anything, he doesn't w like, that's not the process of that's gonna lead up to ultimate success later on, right? We're talking about that. Are you putting in effort? Yes. Do you have a good attitude? Are you a good teammate? And then sometimes we had one kid that was on our second team. He was all excited, and the mom's like, "No, we're not denying the position." And the kid's like, "What do you mean?" Mom's like, "No, because we think he's elite. We think he should be on your elite team, not on your second team." So she pulled him out of the organization, tried out at another place, didn't make the elite team. Put him in another place, did not make the elite team. The kid quit baseball. 6 months later, never even played again. I'm like, okay, because the parent thought he was elite, which meant absolutely nothing. This kid was so happy where he was. All of his friends were here. He wanted to play the game. And now he doesn't even play anymore because a parent thought that he should be like, that's the problem. Like, what are we doing with that? Like, you think, and if you're 11 years old, what does elite even mean at 11? Like, what does that mean? Right? Like, he might be elite at 11, but is he going to be elite at 12? It's like all these organizations that are doing these evals and, oh, he's the best 11-year-old baseball player in the state of New Jersey. Okay. So what does that mean at 12 when everyone else starts hitting puberty and all of a sudden he starts declining, but does that mean he's not good anymore? No, that's not what but that's what the kid thinks. "Oh, I'm just not as good as I used to be." And people are like, that's what's gonna happen with that, though. That's what happens when you tell kids at too young of an age what their ranking is, right? Like, what do you mean? We all know it that, right? We've all seen kids that develop later on become superstars later, but they got cut too young and they don't play anymore, right? Like, keep them in the game as long as we can, and then watch what happens. We've all had that kid that we're like, "You know what? I don't know why I want this kid. I'm gonna take him. He's not the best, he's not the fastest, but our team is better when he's on it." And next thing you know, 3 years later, the kid's an absolute beast, and you're like, "I knew there was something about this kid that, it wasn't skill wise or size wise, but it was everything else that we're talking about that he had, that once everything else caught up to him, the kid was an animal."
Yeah.
That's another thing real quick that I wanted to really hit on, piggyback on is a lot of parents that are signing these kids up and some of these kids are way over their head. Like first of all, this kid played rec ball and jumps right into travel ball like last year, or he started baseball late. And you're looking at me like, well, where's his playing time? Or, well, there's the contract, man, it states that we really don't have to give him the playing time, but hey, let's celebrate the little wins. How about that? Can we celebrate the little wins and let him go ahead and develop more? And then maybe we could talk about more playing time and things of that nature. What are your thoughts about that as we close out?
Yeah. I mean, it's, "Oh, well, Johnny's dad has a new team that he's gonna put together so that now I can play where I wanna play," not listening to you, right? Like, someone's always gonna tell them what they wanna hear. It's just not the right it's you know what I mean? Like, "Well, I'll just jump over and get on their A team." Well, their A team would get beat by our C team. So does that mean what does that mean? It's just giving you, "Oh, he's on that status?" Like, what does that even mean? Like, you have to think about what's right and what's driving them, and just your point is so dead on, right? It's like and I'm gonna relate it back to like 9U baseball. It's like 9U rec. Okay, my mom wants me to play first base, but you can't catch, and you just started playing. So my answer would be, "Oh, you know what? We're working him really hard at first base in practice, and when he's ready, we'll put him at first base." I can't just put him at first base, and then Mikey, who's got a cannon from shortstop, throws the ball and whacks your son in the head, and then you're gonna go, I'm gonna say what? "Well, you wanted him to play first." Right? Like, that would be a dumb thing for me to do, but so many people do that because 'cause they're like, "This mom's driving me crazy for her son to play first. I know he's not ready, but I'm just gonna do it." And then you just put him there and you're like, "See? Well, instead, you can say something like I said, we're working hard in practice. He's getting a lot of time at first base. He's getting better. And when he's ready, I'll put him there." Okay. The mom is going to, okay, that's fine then. Like, but I think that we have to just make smart decisions as coaches. And sometimes we just get so like, and you're just like, fine, I'm just going to do it. And you're like, oh gosh, that's not what I should have done. Like,
Yeah.
we all live and learn, right? We've been doing this for a long time now. What I might have done 25 years ago, I'm not doing anymore, right? I've learned.
Yeah.
We're all better.
100%. So as we close out here, Duke, I want to just tell people where they can find your stuff, that they can go online and social media and check out your videos.
Yeah, so, it's at Duke Baxter. We're also at Zoned Sports, and we're also at Dominate the Diamond. So Dominate the Diamond is a lot of coaching content. Zone Sports is more of our facility slash some drills, and then my content's, personal content, but it's still it's drills, it's coaching tips, it's parenting tips. It's almost like what I go through every day. So I'm coaching, I'm parenting, I'm training, so those three are, great resources for you to check out.
Yeah. And really, guys, I think if you're a parent, a player, a coach, great content. There's a lot of great content out there, but I love it. It's short, it's to the point, and the drills, make sense. And not only do they make sense, but you see it in a team type atmosphere. A lot of the stuff that you do is the team stuff, so you can actually see how a team goes through those drills. So, really good stuff. And Coach Rock and I really appreciate your time today, Duke. We could talk another hour very easily, about baseball, but I
We'll
know,
do it next time. Next time we
yeah,
will. And I'll have you guys on my podcast as well, and we'll just get after it.
yeah, 100%, man, 100%. Thanks everybody for tuning in again. All Star Insights, sponsored by Tuckahoe Sports and Kids on First Foundation. And we thank Duke Baxter for joining us today and sharing his insights on youth baseball. Thank
Thanks
you,
so much.
Duke.
You got it. Thank you guys so much.